Any, either as partners in the business or partners in marriage that you would give to anyone listening about what's the secret sauce to a successful partnership?
I'm waiting for you.
I was going to let you go first.
I think I saw a picture of your vows that you posted recently on, from your wedding.
Our anniversary?
On your anniversary. And
Yeah.
It looks like either you got married like 15 minutes ago or you're vampires. I can't tell because, you all have aged very gracefully. But how long have you been married?
We've been married for
13
years.
Okay.
On February 4th.
Let's break this down. So you got married 14, did you say 14 years?
13.
13 years
13.
ago. How long have you been in the business?
This will be my 20th year.
Okay.
And I was licensed in 2010, but really actively started in the business in 2013.
What came first? The Webb Group as it exists here today, or the Webbs as a married
good
couple?
question.
Probably the Webb Group first, although it wasn't. It was the Richard Webb Group maybe when it first started. And then when Meta joined, she wanted to get rid of that name. So we just went to the Webb Group.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we used Richard Webb Group in the beginning, and then I didn't think that really made sense. So what came first was Richard was in real estate, and then we started dating. And then shortly after we started dating, I bought an investment property. Richard was in real estate. He convinced me that I should buy an investment property. And so we bought this small little side-by-side duplex investment property. And then after that, I decided, maybe I should get my license and learn more about real estate. So then I got my license, and then we kind of rolled with the Webb Group. Mm-hmm.
So wait, did he represent you in the purchase?
He did.
How'd he do?
Crushed it. Look around South Minneapolis and try to find another duplex that sold for $9,000. I did a great job, I'd say.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he convinced me that $9,000 was a good deal. I had no idea how to be a landlord. I didn't know if it was a good deal. Then he sprung on me that there were a whole bunch of back taxes and then we'd have to renovate it. And so I just trusted him. And so I think he did a good job because it's led to other investment properties.
Yeah. But he basically made it look so easy. You're like, well, anyone could do this, so I might as well get my license.
Yeah, we had looked at a few other properties that I couldn't see because I was not in that industry. And he had kind of told me, these would be a good investment. I wasn't quite sure. And then he sold me on the duplex idea. So
what business were you in at the time before you Meta came to the real estate?
Yeah, I went to the University of Wisconsin-Madison and graduated with a bachelor's of science in nursing. So I was an emergency room nurse right out of the gates. I worked at Fairview Southdale, and then I was a traveling nurse. So I worked at different hospitals for 13 weeks at a time. And then I did that for about 5.5 years and decided I wanted to do something more on the business end of things. I was burnt out from being in the emergency room. And so I was a clinical nurse consultant for a medical device company. And so I worked with a sales team and sold medical devices.
Okay.
And then I did that for about 5 years and then joined Richard in real estate.
Service was always or helping people was always important to you, but then you kind of got more into sales.
Yeah, I was more in a supporting role. So I supported the sales team with my clinical background. So I did a lot of education of the products and kind of consulting on if it was a good fit for the hospitals and that kind of thing. But yes, a little bit of sales in there too.
So Richard, was it always real estate or did you dabble in any other professions before?
I had an auto brokerage with a friend of mine who is still in that business, but we did that. I think I did that for about 2.5 years. And in my second year, when I was filing my taxes, I think I was basically made $0. And I worked about 55 hours a week or something like that. And I liked what I did. I enjoyed working with him and helping people. But I was like, no money. And on the flip side of that same year, I referred a friend of mine who was selling real estate, like transactions to the tune of probably $70,000 in commission. And so I was thinking, something's wrong here. And going way back, after my first semester of college, I was thinking I should just get into real estate. This was 95, which of course I should have 10 years earlier, but I didn't. I called Edina Realty and I said, well, I think I want to be a realtor. She said, okay, we'll have someone call you back. Someone called me back the next day, and I was like 19. And they told me, I said, well, so what do I have to do? And they told me, and I said, I don't think, this sounds like it's too easy. Something's got to be not right.
Yeah.
And then 10 years later, ended up getting into real estate.
And so where were you going to school?
Mankato, Minnesota State.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where are you both from?
We both grew up in Eden Prairie. I think South Minneapolis for me, moved to Eden Prairie in middle school. St. Cloud
Yep.
for Meta.
We met probably, I was middle school, you were high school, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But we didn't start dating until we were in our
Okay.
30s.
Mid-30s, yeah. She was tracking me for a long time.
Yeah.
But
She moved all the way down to St. Cloud. Okay.
yeah.
When I was 6. Yeah.
Her brother and I have been good friends since 6th grade.
Okay.
And so we've known each other a long time, but yeah, didn't start dating till mid-30s.
So then off to college, the both of you go, and then come back into each other's lives. And you said in your 30s is when you, fully grown adults at this point. And
I was a traveling nurse, got this medical device sales job, and was renting a place kind of in Linden Hills. And then I thought, well, gosh, maybe I should buy a house. I think I was like 25, 26 years old. But I didn't get how real estate worked. So I reached out to Richard, and I was like, knew he was in real estate. Will you show me some houses? And he did. And then I think I maybe reached out to like my mom's friend who was also in real estate. I mean, I didn't think I was represented by anybody. I didn't even know what that meant. And then my mom and I showed up at an open house, and the agent's son was sitting there, and I was like, I think I want to make an offer. And so I used the listing agent. I used the lender that was recommended. So Richard did all this work and showed me houses, and I went behind his back.
and you still went out with her.
Oh, I had to. I didn't get paid, so I'm getting something out of it. Yeah.
The long-term investment. I got you.
Yes.
Okay.
I just didn't do a good enough job explaining agency at the time.
Or maybe
sounds
he
like-
didn't. I just didn't pay attention. I don't know.
Yeah.
So as you've seen the way this real estate business has grown and the technology has changed and everything else, what are the things that really speak to you about what's relevant now for maintaining a business? Are there things that are consistent that'll never change, or are there things that are new and different now, which there obviously are, that you think are important?
I think relationships are just the driver of real estate. I don't think that changes, right? So I think maintaining relationships, and people are going to work with someone they like, and
Yeah.
hopefully that's us.
So do you do a lot of advertising, or is your business based more on, again, relationships and past clients and referrals that are organically generated?
A little bit of both, but probably more of the latter. 90% of our business was referral based, which is huge, right? And it's not that anymore because we have more sources now, but we still try to maintain relationships. And I think that's a big piece that Meta brought to our business is marketing and advertising and visibility.
I think in terms of the change of technology, I mean, in fact, when he showed me houses, the first time he gave me like a book of the listings we were going to see. And just now being able to access everything on a cell phone. I mean, your clients have it almost before you do because it's so immediate. So a lot of changes in terms of just how we access information. Everything is so much faster. And
So then what do you think that then, as sort of a professional, you have had to change in order to, kind of continue to differentiate yourself amongst everyone else, or just, and again, everything they can pull up information off their phone at any time.
I think education and kind of being a consistent part of the transaction, or, start to finish from looking at houses till closing. And I think our confidence and, just saying like, we've done this, we can answer your questions, we can help navigate this. I think we also try to be really proactive so that we're answering questions before they have them. So they're not searching something online, that we're feeding information to our clients before they actually might need it or be seeking it.
Yeah.
Keeps us a little bit ahead.
When she joined joined the team, was there something that you were specifically looking for her to a role to fill, or did you see something that you felt like he needed for you to step in and do, or did it kind of more evolve a little bit more organically about how the two puzzle pieces fit together?
Probably more organically, because originally she got her license right around the time or shortly after
Right before our son was born.
Okay, right around
Yep.
the time our son was born. And so the original idea was, well, get your license and, maybe you can help me out with whatever. And she thought, oh yeah, okay, I can come do some office work. And so she did that for like a day.
About a day.
And then she realized that she couldn't work for me. So then she put me to work for her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really.
I think I originally was going to go as his sort of administrative assistant, just part-time. I was excited to get back into something and kind of learn a new craft. And so I was really just starting to kind of do the paperwork and, kind of whatever he needed. And then he had been very successful without me, but I took a look at his business and realized it was kind of a disaster. I mean, it was a disaster from a business
Spoken
standpoint.
like a true wife. Right?
Yeah, it was not a disaster.
I mean, maybe not in the, like I said, he was selling a lot of real estate. The business component needed a bit of organization. And so I think that was where I came in and just provided
I think it was
systems,
filing
structures.
taxes, because what I used to do was I would just pay taxes at the end of the year instead of quarterly. And then once we started filing together, she said, "Are you kidding me? What?" She said, "Do you know what late fees we're paying because you're not paying this on time?"
Yeah.
I said, "No." And she said, "We're done with this." And then
the rest is history.
and then we started a real business.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's got like the garage. It's like it looks like a total disaster, but I know where everything is. So
Perfect
it's my
example.
system. Yeah, but is he a messy garage guy too?
No, he's not a messy guy at all. I mean, that's the thing. If you look at his closet, his hangers are equally spaced. Like, he's very neat and tidy person. I think just like he is very relational. That's what he brings to the business. He's an awesome connector of people, and just sort of the details of the business are not, where he shines. And so I think we've complemented each other really well.
So wait, bearing the lead a little bit. So how many kids do you have?
We have two.
Okay.
One who just turned 15 and one our daughter will be 12.
What is your go-to thing that you all like to do together?
I mean, and we love to be together, doing whatever. Our kids might not feel the same at this point in their lives, but we love to travel and explore. That's a highlight for us. We really enjoy road trips. And we have a vintage camper that we rescued and renovated during COVID. And so that was a highlight for many years, was being in our camper with our kids.
Still is. They've just gotten bigger, and the camper
Has not.
hasn't. Yeah.
Okay.
We're very involved in our church. And so we enjoy, doing activities that the church offers. And just, I think being just together, we realized, I think, when the kids were really young and Richard was working a lot of evenings and weekends, that it was important for us to be together in the evenings. So it's gotten harder as the kids get busier, but we do try to prioritize, evenings together when we can.
So what is the best road trip you ever been on?
We flew to Alaska and then rented an RV and then went up and down the coast. And that was probably the best. But from start to finish, from our house, I'd say Florida. We went to Florida during COVID, drove there and stayed for about a month in December, and the kids got to do school online. And it's funny because we were, in the car for 2 straight days there, 2 straight days home, which sounds like hell. But in our kids' minds, they're like, oh my gosh, that trip was so much fun. Like, what about the drive? Oh, it was great.
Yeah, even though they were in the back of the car doing school and trying to do their Zoom meetings. But boy, we've had a lot of good road trips. Colorado, we love to drive out to Colorado. We love the Black Hills. We've done that trip a few times, and that's just, it's beautiful. Anytime we're in the car, because we're contained, and it's just fun being together, and our kids are contained with us, so they kind of have to interact with us, and we stop and get treats, and I don't know, it's all just good being together.
As you kind of think back on maybe your life professionally or personally, what is a what is some challenge or an obstacle that you two have faced together that you've had to overcome?
I feel really blessed. I mean, when I look back at our time together, I don't really see anything really major.
Okay.
So I feel really lucky. I think you touched on it in the beginning. I mean, we work together, and so in some ways that brings us much closer. And then then there certainly are days where everything's not firing on all cylinders because we're frustrated with one another. But I can't think of anything big.
Learning to coexist together, I think, because we were both in our mid-30s, so we both had our routines. And so I think then when we first came together, that was the obstacle of like learning to share space and adapt to someone else.
What do you do on tough days, like to get yourself motivated to, get up and grind? Where do you find inspiration from?
My dogs.
Okay.
I don't know. Get up
To me, I thought he was going to say like my wife.
Yeah, my wife
dog.
and my dogs. For me, I just get up. I try to get up early every day and take my dogs for a walk to start and get out there, even when it's real cold. And even if I don't feel like it, I kind of force myself to do it, and that I always feel good after doing it.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Meta?
I mean, I will say honestly, Richard, there are certainly days where we're both, or one of us is, frustrated or whatever. And it's just, I think, letting each other take a break, realizing like just step back for a minute and take a break and kind of do what you need. And for me, it really is like in the very beginning, we took a class where it was like start with your why and then peel back the layers of the onion and what is your why. And I think as that has become more clear, it's just a good reminder of like some days you don't want to do it or it's tough, but why are you doing it? And just to get back to center.
Is there anybody that you would want to take a moment to acknowledge or just, to recognize, since you have this opportunity and podcast here today, that who's been instrumental in you being where you are today and where you're both sitting today? You can acknowledge each other. That's easy, but also anyone else as well.
Yeah. Claude Worrell. So Claude was a results agent, and I came to results in 2008 to work with Claude. And at the time he was, actually his whole career, he only sold bank-owned properties. And so in 2008, when I came to RE/MAX, I think he had like 150 active listings. We sat down and he said, do you like working with buyers? And I said, yeah, I love it. And he said, all right, perfect. You can have them. And he said, I work for banks, and banks are open 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and that's the way I like it. And so you can have the buyers. And, at 2008 was economic recession.
That was the foundation for you to get into the business and build it.
It really was, because at the time, I got the opportunity to meet a lot of investors because credit tightened up. And so there wasn't a lot of money available. Well, who had money? Investors who had cash. And so I got to meet a lot of investors who were out there trying to buy, foreclosures. A lot of owner occupants too, but really a lot of investors. And that just set up a wonderful foundation. For us.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be in real estate if it wasn't for Richard. So he's who I credit for being in this business and sort of guiding me. And I learn something new from him every day. And so I think it's definitely why I'm here.
Any, as we close, any either as partners in the business or partners in marriage that you would give to anyone listening about what's the secret sauce to a successful partnership?
I'm waiting for you.
I was going to let you go first. I think respect each other, both in business and in personal. Learn from each other, both in personal and business. Listen. That's something that Richard has taught me. Like, has made him wildly successful in business because he's a really good listener. And so listen, I think is key, because I like to talk more than I like to listen. So, and have fun. I mean, especially with this business, I would say, don't take yourself too seriously. You have to work hard, but have fun along the way. And
That's the only one I was going to say is don't take it too serious. Not the business, but don't take yourself too serious.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keeps you tough, but also kind of loose as you kind of just navigate
absolutely.
And your mindset too, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's easier to shake it off or get going.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, as I think it's like attorneys too, like the people who get ground up in the business, if you get too caught up in the fights and the legal aspects of it, and if you can't shut that off and just move on with your day, if you carry that weight with you, it'll
Yeah.
Eat you up.
kind of consume you.
Yeah.
Because we do work in like a high stress environment with when we're trying to meet our clients' needs and inventory is tight and everything else, and it's sometimes the temptation is to carry their stress for them.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard not to.
Yeah.
Right. No.
Yeah, because they feel it, and yeah, if you feel it, you're an empath. I think we both are that. It can wear you down for sure. And I think just focusing on what you can control. It's very easy to worry in this business, like what if this happens, or this happened, how am I going to deal with this? It's like just focus on what you can control, and a lot of that comes back, for the clients, a lot of that is like you can control your communication with them. You can control giving them information. You can control being calm yourself. And so, focus on what you can control.
And have you on speed dial?
Yep. Man.
Yeah.
Or
I got to call Ed quick.
Yeah.
I'm going to see what Ed says.
Yeah. Well, Richard, Meta, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
thanks for having me.